Okay, first a couple of words, because maybe not everyone knows, but I'm Miguel de Porras, Director of FiBL Europe. FiBL Europe is the umbrella organization of the FiBL Research Centers, and we have next year will be our 50th anniversary. So we have 50 years of experience in organic research, and we have activities all over the world. So it's and we encompasses a group of around 300 researchers all over Europe. You can see the position and the different projects we have worldwide. In terms of competences, you can see that we have almost every discipline from socioeconomic, animal production, plant production. So you just to have a slight overview. Let's go to the topic, because I would like to focus in the situation of the EU organic market. I will present the data of the Wall of Organic Agriculture that is normally published on February every year, normally in the traditional BioFAG, but this year BioFAG was postponed due to COVID restrictions. But I would like to share all the data that we produce. It's an annual statistic exercise that if you don't know, you should, because it's a very flagship publication of FiBL Europe and presenting the data of the organic sector. Let's start with it. Of course, here you have information. You can download this, completely available. You can order or as you prefer. We have this ambitious target that was presented before, to arrive to the 25% of organic farming until 2030 in the farm to fork. This means that we have a long way to go. And as you can see in the gray part is the expected growth that we will need to develop in the coming years. And of course, the growth is not so steep at the moment. So we need to identify factors how to boost this transition in European agriculture if we really want to achieve this objective. But one of the points I want to make clear today is that no one size fits all. Europe is quite diverse, and in terms of the development of the organic sector, is especially diverse. So you can see the difference between the countries in terms of the percentage of agricultural land in agriculture. So we can see in the eastern countries that we have a completely different situation. We have Austria in the middle, which is the island, and Sweden, and also Western countries with a growing concept. But I wanted to make this point because the geographical level is a very diversified sector. And let me go through just the world data. We arrived almost 75 million hectares worldwide. The sector arrived to become a market of 120 billion euros, the global area. And you can see the leaders. I think it's quite interesting because traditionally European actors were in the top 3 countries in numbers of producers too, and we have been relegated a little bit. I think the sector is growing worldwide, and I think it's an important signal that it's not an European issue, it's a global issue, the growth of the organic market. We need to keep that into account. In despite of that, of course, the organic market still have a lot of importance in Europe, especially you can see Germany and France. One important thing is the most growing are not European. Traditionally, it's always European countries, and now we can see Canada and China, which I think is a promising signal that the market is growing not only in our continent. For the European Union, as the previous speaker say, we have a 9.2%. Maybe the rounding policy is a little bit different, just 0.1, but we are arriving there in the European Union. France has become the first. Traditionally has been always Spain, and now France stands in the first position in surface in Europe. In numbers of producers, we have Italy with 71,000. And we have almost 45 million sector with of Germany, France, and Italy, the top countries, and still growing the most. You can see Germany, the growth in 2020, the 22%. So it's an extremely fast growing of the market. The organic farm at the European level, this is including Turkey and Switzerland. So that's the difference, but you can see the steep increase, still the dynamics of the sector. As I say, you will have all this information. I will go quite quickly. At European level, we have 52 billion because, of course, we include here Switzerland, which is one of the biggest markets. But you can see that the growth is at 13% in Denmark, for example. The growth rates are still steep of 2 digits in countries like Denmark, Austria, and Switzerland. And I think it's a very good signal. You will see the record of more than 400 euros per person in Switzerland spending in organic products. I think it's very interesting data. You can see here the growth. The data is until 2020 because it's the current published one. You can see the organic markets, the biggest 10 in the world. Of course, US is the biggest one. You can see in yellow the Europeans one. So we have a strong presence in the global market, and it still has been grown until 2020. So we can see that it's a very still maintain the growth in 2020. Here you can see the largest organic market growth. I think it's quite interesting because we can see countries that we are not used to see, like Belgium, Ireland, with an almost 20% of growth. But we can see also Canada, China, and Australia is growing a lot in the global. So the organic sector, normally we used to serve the European consumers, but we see that globally it's also growing a lot. So I think this will provide additional opportunities in the future. Now I'm going with additional data just to show that depending on the retailing channel, in the different marketing channel, the growth have been different. And we can see that in the general retailers has been growing in the last years, but not so in the specialized retailers. You can see some cases here, Austria, Denmark, France. You can see the difference in the growth, how the supermarkets and general retailers has been growing more, but the growth in the specialist retailers and other channels has been more stagnated. This is, I think, is an important signal because we will see with the brief data of 2021 I have later. Another point is the extremely difference, to point out the difference in the market and the consumer preference at the European level. We have here some statistics about the difference, the share of the different products, the organic shares of different products. You can see eggs, vegetables, and fruits, and you can see how it varies completely from country to country. You can see that, for example, in Italy is completely reduced in terms of fruits and vegetables, but in Sweden is the biggest one, and the importance of eggs in France, for example. This will imply that at the European level it's quite difficult to have this one fits all solution. And here I have a small information about 2021. We can see that effectively the growth rates has been reduced. You can see for these selected countries, for example, we have the case of France where they have been a growth of 1% of the market, and this reduction of the massive, we have, for example, in Germany, the 22%, and the year after just 5%. This is explained because the COVID crisis boost organic consumption all over Europe. And right after the COVID crisis, I think consumers has put this less in the priorities, and this has been reflected in the major markets in Europe. So we can say that of course the growth of the market is going slower in 2021, and of course we will be impacted by the inflation. The inflation is not reflected here, but this will have for sure a strong impact in the organic sector. But let me continue, because now I will share the data presented by Ami in BioFact, that depending of the channel, the growth has been different. And here in Germany, which is the biggest market, we can see how natural food shops, the stores specialized in organic products, are those suffering the most, because they are more, how to say, niche markets. Let's say they serve more the niche markets, and this niche component of the organic consumption is going smaller, while you can see that the supermarkets and discount are still growing at 10%. This is the data of Germany. I think it's quite important to keep this in mind, because often we see a stagnation of the market, but it will depend on the retailing channel, and each retailing channel is competing with each other. So I think the dynamics needs to be taken into account to a very specific level. So that's why I wanted to share this with the specific case of Germany, which is the biggest market, just to see how the tendency impacts differently depending on the channel. And I wanted to share this because often we see organic farming as a standing alone thing, but you can compare the green with the orange. The orange is the global food sector in Germany, the conventional, let's say. So we see that the impact on the demand in the different channels is really similar. you see that the impacts on the discounts are growing both for organic and conventional, and the hypermarkets reducing for both, and the natural food stores are suffering almost the same numbers of reduction. So we need to keep in mind that the market dynamics are also quite related to those that general agriculture or mainstream agriculture are suffering. Just wanted to make this point with the data of Germany. Now I will continue that I have explained that the difference in geographical difference, but I think it's very important to this no size fits all. Is also applicable to sectors, because we have a very different situation from a specific sector to a specific sector in organic farming. You can see the rates here that, for example, in olive, we are over the 50%, but in root crops, we are very low. So it is important to keep into account that every crop, every specific value chain has the specific problematics and the specific, let's say, problems. I will share some data. This is from 2019, presented in the previous year, but with the specificities of a specific commodities. And you can see here fruit and veg. You can see below right the competitors, the bigger producers. You can see that the situation in every specific market of organic products is quite different. You can see here, for example, competitors, Turkey, Israel. Now we move to the fruits, and we have Ukraine. This has been changed for sure, but we see that the competitors are different. Turkey is still there, but we can go through wine, where we have Argentina and Chile as main competitors. We have the situation of every specific crops. I will go very quickly. Olive, for example, we have the main competition coming from Tunisia in organic products. I will go quite quickly. You will have this information, but I wanted to point out this, that every value chain has the specific problematics that need to be addressed specifically. Then an additional data, this is coming from Traces, the European Commission database, is about the volume of imports. And I think it's quite interesting to mention that in 2020, imports have not grown. So the impact, the reduction of the demand is also reflecting that in terms of volume. It's not value. But I think it's a good signal that in 2020 they are not increasing imports in Europe, maybe in terms of value. But this is a signal that still organic farming is open to global competition, of course. But as you can see here, the main category is fruit and tropical subtropical fruit. So it's normally not the main competition of the majority of the organic farming in Europe. I think it's important to mention that we have of course, a globalized and open sector, but the competition from outside is not substituting the same products that we produce here. Sorry. Luckily, we are in a digital meeting, so no COVID risk. Just to mention that very quickly, I think I'm going 10 minutes. I will go faster. That this information is produced thanks to the cooperation of our key partners that we work every time. And I wanted to mention this because in Europe and in the Action 11 of the Organic Action Plan that was mentioned before, they are the intention of including in the EU Market Observatory the organic data. I think this should be a very important step because transparency of the market depends on the information available. And we have these excellent European market observatories in different commodities, and the inclusion of organic in those observatories, I think, would be a very important step. So I think this was included in the action plan. And I think this is a very important measure that we will be happy to discuss later on. Just in terms of price premium, I wanted to show that I wanted to show that the price premium were reducing. This is the data of a scientific article collected in Poland. It's the case of eggs in Poland, and we can see how the price premium was already going down. Price premiums also depends on the volumes and the number of producers. So if we have more volume, we will have less price premium. But I wanted to show that these dynamics were already going down before the current situation. So we expect that the price premiums will reduce, will keep going down. We can see also, I included another example, which is the almond. This data is one of scientific article. This is the market of almonds in Albacete in Spain. I really like because they have a very transparent policy. You can see the difference of the organic one is the violet. you can see this massive premium in the market of almonds. Just to also to point out this strong difference between markets and the need of having an European approach of collecting price data that still is not there. And with this, I just wanted to give my final theme. Of course, we have the influence of the inflation during the. We are going in a crisis world, we're going from one to another, from the COVID to the war. So it's a very complex dynamics of the markets, but we can still see that until 2020, the growth of the organic sector was going far over the growth of the area. You can see that this gap has been growing in the last year, and I think this is a positive signal for the market that there is still a lot of gap to cover by the organic producer and organic value chains. This situation will change most probably. We will have a less steep progress of the market, and this will be impacted negatively, but still we have a long road to go before talking of any issue. That is just to mention that the opportunities are there. And with this, I think I'm finished with the statistical data. I will go very quickly to other challenges that I think is important to mention, just to bring some ideas and some inspirations. Because often when we talk about the organic supply chain, we think only from farmer, but farmer needs inputs to produce the product. So I think it's important that we take an overall view of the value chain, including the input side. And I wanted to put these inputs because we developed, there are a lot of problems, for example, with pesticide residues and with the inappropriate use of inputs and so on, availability of inputs. We are in a crisis of energy with the war in Ukraine. So we need to substitute and to have fertilizers, alternative fertilizers for our farms and so on. So I think it's very important to mention that the inputs is a key issue. And I would like just to example with the one example is an activity that FiBL is doing is the organic input list. It's an European list of, we assess companies apply to FiBL just to be assessed the composition of their inputs. And we assess the compliance with national law, with the EU organic regulation, and with even private standards, and we test. This is a very important service that is open information for farmers, so they can safely use the inputs. But you can see that we are enlisting currently almost 10,000 different inputs. So it's a sector that is growing, but if we go for the 25%, we need to think that we need to 25% of organic inputs is also needed for the equation. Just quickly, another point is, of course, organic breeding, because it's not only the inputs, but the seeds that you're using or the breed of animal. And here, the regulation will oblige to use organic bred varieties and conventional bred under organic conditions. So we will not be allowed to use these exceptions that we can use conventional seed. You can see the progress according to the estimation of this project live seeding. So the substitution of the seeds in the organic sector is also seeds and animal breeds, is also a key issue that we need to tackle. And especially if we want a 25% organic, we need to keep that this also comes. We develop a database for member states to the database of seeds. And also we contribute to this EcoPB, which is the European Consortium on Organic Plant Breeding, where it puts together breeders all over Europe addressing the specific issues of organic breeding. Last but not least, digitalization. We have this meeting through Zoom. Digitalization has come to impact the life of everyone, and of course of farming. And this provides challenges and opportunities. We can see that the skilled agricultural labor is still at the lowest rate of the intensity. So I think it's very important that we start to integrate in the programs of development the skills of farmers. And there are a lot of, there are a lot of problems to be addressed, like basic ACT skills and awareness of the tools. There are a lot of progress to be done in the farming sector that could provide opportunities too. And it's important and these opportunities that can provide a lot of services for farmers, just to show some. And with this, I think I will conclude. So just to mention that the Common Agricultural Policy will provide opportunities for digitalization. And with this, thank you very much for your time. I will share I'm happy to receive questions. Thank you.